want to congratulate everyone who has studied the CrossStyle message. More than that, I want to congratulate everyone who has comprehended it and is now living it, because the Spirit of Jesus lives within you. Congratulations to you. I wanted to be sure you understood that the CrossStyle language is not an attempt to develop a new theology, but only to give expression to an old theology. It's the gospel, the good news. The language literally came out of Matthew chapter 16. Matthew records that Jesus was asking the disciples the great question, who do you say that I am? And Peter came through with, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus was just absolutely blown away by that. And he marveled and congratulated Peter on that comprehension. The issue of is he the Messiah, is he not the Messiah, was then settled. But then Jesus brought up the content of his messiahship, and he began to give them the first prediction of his death. But he not only did that, but he began to tell them that he wanted to bring them into that same death. And he talked in terms of not an experience on a cross, but he talked to them in terms of a living, dying, giving yourself up, never thinking about yourself, bleeding, suffering, dying kind of lifestyle. And he talked in terms of, if you want to be my disciple, deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. And it was the style of the cross that he was calling them to. And when you look at the life of Jesus, you discover that the cross was not just an event for him either. It was a style of life. All the way from washing 12 dirty pairs of feet, to pouring his life out as a servant, to giving himself up on every occasion, doing miracles and never asking anyone to tell anyone about it, but asking them to keep still. All of that is a part of the attitude of the heart of Jesus. So Jesus, filled with the Father, expressed the Father's heart and became the visible image of the invisible God, which was the style of the cross. And the cross is the heart of God. Abelard, an old time in the first century or second century of the church, an old time preacher, he gave an illustration of this. The illustration was a tree that was cut at the roots. In other words, you saw the cross section of the tree. You could count the rings. You knew how many there were. You could pinpoint them. But he said what you see at the cross section really runs the entire length of the tree. You only see it at the cross section, but it runs the entire length of the tree. So it is with the cross. You see at the cross section the very heart and attitude of the Father displayed in the person of Jesus. It's CrossStyle. So we're calling you to bleed, suffer, and die. Never think about yourself. An attitude of always give yourself away, always be redemptive. Now, the reason we know this is true is because this has driven us to the Word itself. In other words, the living Word and the written Word begin to operate together to communicate to our hearts the attitude that begins to flow through us. And our nature becomes the nature and thought process of God Himself. We're saturating in His mind. We're taking on the mind of Christ. We're living in His heart. We're experiencing the throb of that which drives Him. It's the style of the cross. Congratulations. Live in that. The mind and the heart of God. In Jesus' name.